So let's ask ChatGPT, which, by the way, sometimes you'll find I'm very polite with ChatGPT. I say please and thank you. That's just how I was raised. But I don't know that you actually need that for GPT. So I'm going to continue my trend. Please create a list of 50 tweets. Okay, so I'm using, Twitter language because I want it short. Good morning. Yeah, it's morning somewhere, right? You might be listening to this at night, but it's all good because good morning to you regardless. And actually, I'm saying that partially because Tony and I have been sitting here just kind of chuckling as we are getting the studio ready and preparing. And I just started singing the Good Morning song from Singing in the Rain. Now, some of our audience is going to be like, what is that? So before we actually start talking about the stuff and the things, I got to play this for you. It's from 1952, Singing in the Rain. Here we go. It's on the YouTubes. Oh, and we get a commercial, don't we? You know what? I can't complain about commercials because if I complain about commercials, it's exactly what's actually paid our bills for years, making commercials. And you know what? We make commercials for firefighters sometimes, believe it or not, true story. So we're very happy when people can put out fires. But that, and if you're listening to this, I got a commercial for a fire retardant tech. But we're going to hit skip ads. We're going to turn up the sound a little bit. Here we go. Oh goodness, it's not playing the sound. Well, this is, I believe, Gene Kelly, Debbie Reynolds, and Donald O'Connor singing along, and they're singing, good morning, it's great to stay up late, good morning to you. And that's the last time I'm probably ever going to sing on this show. But it was us killing time as actually our guest never showed up. And we're wishing him well. I'm not going to name drop. I have a feeling he actually has a family issue to deal with. And we don't let an opportunity go to waste. And I hope you don't let opportunities go to waste. I'm going to solo cast right now, and we're going to talk about some things. And for starters, actually, Tony and I were talking as we're getting some of the cameras reset. There's a piece of technology over here. It's a camera splitter. And I remember, or it's actually an HDMI splitter. And we bought this tech back in it was actually the end of 19 for an event where we had to actually send a laptop signal to multiple screens. But then the pandemic happened. And we never took it out of the box because that event was canceled. It never happened. I had no need to have it, but it was cheap enough. I was like, maybe someday I'll need this. So I hung on to it. And we do need it, actually. We use it in the studio now every day. So it took a while to bear some fruit, but it's here. And we were just talking about, it's amazing how many things changed because of the pandemic and how life just completely shifted. And at that time, Tony, Tony, at some point I got to have you on screen. I know you've got to be back there to run this, but we're going to get you over here at some point. He was in LA doing the film and television thing out there, and he might not have ever come here to Florida. We never would have met. We wouldn't have become friends and coworkers. And so that would have been a missed opportunity. But to be perfectly honest, and I don't want to read into his personal relationship, but I know it did give him the opportunity to get tighter with the woman he now calls his wife. And that's a wonderful thing. So the pandemic created space and opportunity for him to change his life. And so, in that regard, my friend and colleague who couldn't make the show today has opened the time for us to have a solo cast conversation. It's me and you. In fact, actually, taking it even a step further, back in 1998, I was playing about 85, 86 baseball games a year at that point in my life. And I had a letter from West Virginia University in hand telling me that I was slated to be their starting catcher. And that would have been really an interesting adventure. I had some intel through the community of baseball that the impetus for that was that the New York Mets organization, not the major leagues, but one of their farm clubs, had nudged West Virginia that I was supposed to be that guy because they were going to call me up after a couple of years if I panned out. Well, I didn't pan out. In 1998, that was the year I blew my rotator cuff in my right shoulder, which was my throwing arm, and everything changed. And frankly, I'll tell you the truth, I had a total identity crisis at the time. I'm like, I am the baseball player. Baseball is my future. Who am I? And I didn't see all of the opportunities ahead of me then, and life has had some wild twists and turns. But I'm also kind of in the butterfly effect type of a thought process, just like Tony. He really strengthened a relationship with his now spouse because of the world pandemic crisis. Well, my shoulder crisis made space for me to eventually go to Nazareth College, where I would eventually meet my now wife, Shannon. We have 3 amazing kids. We live this really cool life together. And if my shoulder didn't blow out, maybe I'd be some, millionaire baseball player, maybe not. I don't know how it would have gone. I'll be honest. I was a good catcher, good enough to get noticed. I wasn't a great catcher. I think I would have been in Triple A's. I would have been that Bull Durham type of character. And that's just not how I would want to live anyhow. So in retrospect, I'm so glad that that happened. And again, today is a pivot day. It's Conrad, who, again, I won't put his last name out there. I hope he's well, and I will have him on the show at some point, and that'll be great. But until then, we're going to spend a moment together. And I hope this little trail that we've gone down about butterfly effect and missed opportunities and opening new opportunities is a little bit inspirational for you. I know there's some people, when pivot happens and change happens, there's anger, there's angst, there's confusion, there's all these things that could happen. And I hope you look at it and go, okay, so that was supposed to happen this way. What am I supposed to do now? Like, see it as an opportunity and maybe even direction. Like, this changed, and there's a reason it changed, but I don't know the reason. So I'm going to do with what I have the best I can and move on. And I will tell you, for me, I've done that pretty much my entire life, where I really can't control outside circumstances. I can only control my behavior and what I do with the cards that I'm dealt. So, I think it's pretty efficient. Actually, I focus a lot on efficiency right now. Sometimes I notice how the panickers of the world, the people who have a lot of fear and let fear rule situations, spend a lot of time dealing with the panic. And they don't get down to solutions or any change in their life. And so if you're somebody who allows fear and panic to get in the way of your opportunities, I'd just like to encourage you that 2020 hindsight, there's a lot of situations in my life, and Tony's got a great thing. My wife and I, actually, Tony, and this is true, Shannon and I will talk about how you talk about your wife and your relationship, and we think you guys are adorable. And what an awful thing to have missed that in life, but he's got that because he sees moments that were able to be seized in all of the right ways. And I feel like I've got that in my personal relationship too. And this is certainly not a relationship show, but boy, doesn't this also extend to, like, you've got a whole life you're living. You're not just an entrepreneur. You're a child of your parents. You're probably a sibling of your siblings if you happen to have some. You're a friend to your friends. You're a coworker to your coworkers. There's a lot of relationships that are out there, and the better you can handle them and the more whole you are as a person, the better off you're going to be as the entrepreneur. And so just that well-rounded approach to your life, is if you can get close to being well-rounded, that's a good thing. And actually, it's funny when you say well-rounded, there's a lot of friction to getting to the rounding. If you think about that, like I used to have a wood shop in my garage, and I had a great table saw, I had a router table, I had a band saw, and I didn't have any of the cool band sanders, or I did have a planer, and all of these woodworking tools are literally destroying parts of the wood in order to make the remaining part better and more aligned with the vision of the craftsman. And at some point I would get sanding, tools, sandpaper, orbital sanders. I had a belt sander that was handheld, and I would go and sand burrs off of edges and clean things. But that's a lot of friction. And if the wood could talk and it were anthropomorphic, it would be going through some torture in order to become the beautiful thing that it is. And so when we talk about a well-rounded individual and becoming well-rounded, there's actually trauma that gets you to that well-rounded thing, that better version of you. And those beautiful rounded stones that are in a creek, how long have they been there with water and minerals flowing over them in order to get rounded and become that beautiful, perfectly skippable stone? Did you ever do that as a kid? I did that as a kid. You got to find the stone and you got to get that. There's a rotation. It's got to like roll off your index finger a little bit as you're throwing it flat. And the best ones have been in a creek or a stream or some kind of body of water long enough to be, just rounded. And so it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of friction to become that well-rounded person. And if you can have the frame of mind to be able to see opportunities and changes and frictions as the rounding experience of who you are, I think you're going to have more peace in the process, and you may be rounded faster because you're submitting to the moment and you're adding some creativity and value to the situation that will round you out. So with that, I thought I would take a couple of minutes and explain where Bootstrapped Unicorns actually came from and why we do this. And the why is a little bit twofold. And one side of the why is almost self-serving business focus. The other side of the why is because of my personal passion and what I'm kind of obsessed over. And so we'll start with the obsession side because I think that's more fun, especially for the audience, you listening, and if you've heard other episodes, you know that I've been an entrepreneur literally since almost infancy. I'm 4 and 5 years old. I'm making money because I got a manufacturing operation and all that stuff. And if you haven't heard that story, go back and listen to, I think it was the first episode, Tony, it was episode 1 that we talked about how I had, a handful of businesses before I was 25. And yeah, I think it was episode 1. So you can hear those stories, but not only have I loved the journey for myself, but I find myself a massive cheerleader. Like, I get so excited when people decide to take the journey of entrepreneurship. I get excited when people I know and don't know are winning in life in general, but especially when they're building a business or starting a new thing and they're seeing the wins and they're encountering challenges and they're willing to try to jump hurdles and they get that, skinning knees is okay. They got to get back up again. And of course I've been an athlete. I'm not so much of an athlete anymore, but I spent so much time being an athlete that battle to win the game is in me, but it's kind of like, I don't understand individual sports so much. Like the Olympics, I struggle to watch the Olympics. I'm glad people love their part of their sports, and running on your own in a circle really fast is really healthy, and I think it's neat that people find passion in it. I don't enjoy any of that because sports for me was always a team experience. And entrepreneurship for me is it's a sport, it's a chess game, it's all of these things, but it's also, for me, it's a team sport. I learn from people, they help me. I help other people learn and accomplish things. We network together in order to give each other opportunities. It's a team sport. And so Bootstrapped Unicorns, for me, it's an exploration of entrepreneurship that is valuable for me because I learn from every guest, and it's valuable hopefully for you because you're learning from the guests along with me. And though I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, one thing that I'm aware of is a guy who has made it, hit millionaire status, lost everything, and not hit millionaire status again yet. I'm on my way. But you're not going to come to me as the Grant Cardone type expert because I'm not running around in my private jet and I don't have the billions of dollars. But I am a student of life, and I am humble enough to know that I can learn from so many people. But it almost feels selfish to do that learning on my own. And that's kind of where my heart is with Bootstrapped Unicorns, is hopefully you're hanging out going, oh, that interview with Rob Kurzreiter was amazing. That guy's interesting. And I see how he made his skills portable from industry to industry. I can do that too. Or the, uphill both ways in a snowstorm type stuff that John Tankersley really encountered in his episode. Go listen to that. Is really funny but true stories of how he grew his business, and understanding from him how he handles partnership is amazing. And then I think about like Steve Gunter's episode where Steve, he's a restaurateur, and to people in Central Florida, we all know him as this well-heeled restaurateur that we love to be around, and we can trust him to give us a great experience. But his secret sauce that he was very transparent about is really empowering his great people to shine and give them the latitude and the space to be excellent on stage in front of all of their guests and build the experience. And so he's very clear that his people are everything. And you can see how much he cares about them, which I love. So I'm sitting here getting inspired and learning, and I could have told you people are important. But when you hear it from Steve and the way he handles how important people are, I'm better for it, and I hope you will be too. That was episode 7, by the way. So this is episode 8. So there's a previous episode. Just go back one. Steve is one of my favorite people. But that's the personal passion side of Bootstrapped Unicorns. But there's, C47 Film Associates, which, by the way, we're going to do a rebrand soon and focus on us being C47 Digital Studios. C47 Film Associates won't go away. It's not like it doesn't exist. But our studio space here is something that's a high value asset that we personally leverage a lot, but our clients do too. And we're excited about this. And so it's what we're focusing on. And one of the things that we do in the Bootstrapped Unicorns show is exactly what we're training our clients to do, and it's the opportunity we're giving them. And I want to walk you through this because you may not be able to be a client of ours. That's cool. We want you to succeed, and maybe the way our formula works for how we handle content is instructive for how you handle content. And so I'm hoping that this is a lesson for some who are the doers, who are going to go and just do it for themselves. And then also maybe some awareness that if you are local or abroad, because we can do this either using a virtual service like we use riverside.fm to record people who are not local, or you can come into the studio. Maybe this is really a tool for your business to be able to grow. So the concept here at C47 Digital Studios is that a video-based podcast can be recorded in batch. So you're going to do 3, 4, 5 episodes in a string, and it takes about 4 hours. It's about a half a day. And that gives you a little space too, because you can get up, you can go use the bathroom, you can grab a soda, you greet people at the door, have them come in. It's not a rush to get a handful of episodes done in about 4 hours. When you get those 4 episodes done, we're live switching this. We got 4 feeds. So we've got camera 1, camera 2, camera 3. And right now this is my 1 camera, but usually if we have interviewees, that's 1 because it covers the whole space. And then of course we also have the laptop feed that we can send as well. So if we have somebody who's zooming in or using Riverside to get in, or we have to share on-screen content, that's feed 4. And it's super functional, right? Cool tech, it's nice to have. And we're live switching this so that the edit's probably, I don't know, Tony, maybe 80-85% done after the shoot's done. So now there's some polish, there's some graphics, some things to be done in order to get it to a, let's put it on YouTube posting quality. But that's the first thing that's ready really is it's a YouTube long format show. That's what you're watching or listening to right now. Then we can strip the audio off of that and put it into the podcast ecosystem, which truth be told, we haven't done that with this show yet. And why would that be? I believe that you have to hit the podcast ecosystem pretty hard and do more than 1 release per week before you settle into a once a week so that you can help, build a swell of interest early on. So I want our first, 10, maybe even 15 episodes done and on YouTube. And then we'll start releasing in rapid step on the podcast ecosystem. So you can find us on iTunes and iHeartRadio and all of these other things. But that's actually pretty easy work to go grab the audio and strip it off the video. So now we've got 4 or 5 episodes, and then we've got 4 or 5 of the same episodes, but able to release in a different way. But then we use artificial intelligence and we strip out shorts for YouTube and reels and TikToks and all of these things. And we use artificial intelligence, and it's not like click and it's just done. There's work to be done. But what we used to do in order to get shorts out of an episode is, an editor would have to sit there and listen to the whole show. And then go back and go, oh, this was a segment. And then kind of find the intro or the in spot and click for the I button. That would be in. And then listen to that and then hit O. And then realize you got to go back and then massage it and change it a little bit. And realize you got to go that way and massage it and change it a little bit. And you're like, oh, yeah, I got to go grab the graphics. And I got to put the graphics on. And then now you got one 1-minute video. And that was listening to an hour show and then going back through and finding the first spot because you were taking handwritten notes when you were listening to the first run through. If you can imagine how long this would take, I mean, truth be told, it's like 4 to 8 hours to go through an entire episode and grab 5 to 7 clips, if you're going to do it right. All of that listening time is being handled by AI now so that we can, and actually, you know, I'm suddenly feeling very bad for you, Tony, because, you know, you're here recording the show and then you got to watch the show in order to go back and edit the show, to go back and do the reels. Like, you've heard whatever I'm saying like 7 times by the time it's done, but thankfully AI is taking a handful of those times out of the mix. So, you know, the editors can go back in and just work with, oh, that's interesting. My computer just decided to go to sleep and start a clip of something that I have no clue what that something is. Bizarre. Anyhow, we'll keep going. But yeah, so it used to be a lot of editing and now it's not. And that's really kind of the lesson, is that the AI accelerates. And then from there, what you want to do is have a plan to schedule all of your posts using a scheduler as best you can. Some things are easier to schedule than others. For instance, YouTube. We'll natively upload to YouTube, but then schedule them using the schedule button. But then, you know, Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and TikTok, those, you can have a bulk scheduling program and handle a lot of that using a single interface. And then again, you can batch your work. And I fully believe in batching your work. We don't want to shoot video. We want to shoot videos. We don't want to edit video. We want to edit videos. And I've done tours through major manufacturing plants all over the world at this point, doing documentary work. And I've never seen one-offs in a manufacturing space. Now, I've seen rapid prototyping. That's in the research and development phase. When you're about to manufacture something, you make a single object so you can look at it and hold it and test it. But that's not production. When you finally have the idea, which we have the idea here, we know how to create a lot of stuff, and you send it to production, you need to do videos, many of them, because it's just efficient. So that's kind of the workflow of how we're getting conversation and content created in mass to get it out. Now, one of the other things that I do with the team is we'll do, you know, motivational videos and all sorts of shorts based on popular leadership and entrepreneurship topics. And I'll go into ChatGPT in a minute and show you how we kind of mine for those ideas. But we batch those by starting the system. And then I get thrown a softball and, hey, here's a quote. What do you think of it? And I pause and I go. And I go on that topic. And then I pause and I wait for another softball, and then I take a swing. And I just keep doing that and keep doing that. And we allow the AI to find the in and out points. And then the process is roughly the same, because you've just got to go edit it and prepare it to go out. I have to credit John Maxwell, the leadership author, for teaching me this portion of it, because I had the privilege of, for a number of years, working with John and the Maxwell team, now Maxwell Leadership, helping them create all sorts of types of content. But I'll never forget the first time I saw John batching Minute with Maxwell's. So if you're interested in leadership stuff, go find his website and sign up, and he'll send you a video every day to your inbox for your email. And it's the Minute with Maxwell video. The way he films those is exactly the way I'm doing motivationals now, which is there was just this huge paper list of words, phrases, ideas, topics. And I, as a producer, would stand off to the side and say, okay, John, the word is believe. And he'd go, okay. Hi, I'm John Maxwell, and you're here with a Minute with Maxwell. The word today is believe, and my take on this word, and you've heard me talk about it before, and blah, 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 blah. And he would just go. And because he's such a wealth of knowledge, and in his 70s, having done this for 40-ish years, and he has this card filing system. Every time he reads a book and has a lesson, an idea, a new take on a word, he writes on index cards, and then he has this room full of file cabinets that are built for index cards, and he very diligently files them with a filing system, and that's how he mentally retains most of it, but he also has record of all of his big ideas. And so he's drawing on his cards. And that's what he does for about 4 or 5 straight hours. And he won't let us cut the camera. I accidentally suggested cutting the camera at one point. I got the evil eye. I got the stink eye from John Maxwell, which when you think of, I mean, he has this kind of grandpa overtone. And I love spending time with him, actually, because he really is that way in real life. He's so wonderful. But if you ever have disappointed your amazing grandparent and gotten a little bit of a stink eye or side eye, that's exactly the experience I had when it's like, why don't we cut? And it was like, okay, maybe not. And so we don't cut here either. I mean, I learned that lesson, and it's wonderful. It's a great way of handling content creation. But the other part of why we do a show where normally I want a guest on the show is because there's magic in bringing your ideal client into your space, into your world, and spending time with them. And so when I have somebody on the show, there's a pile of reasons why I want to spend time with them. So truth, I want to learn from them. That is always true. It will never change. Secondly, I respect them because they're interesting and they're doing something of value, and I see it enough that I want to learn more and I want to be around them. So I'm around somebody I respect and somebody I know I can learn from. Those are wonderful. But I also know we can serve them. There is a chance they're the right person to come on and start having their own show. And so I want them to see the studio. I want them to meet the team. I want them to hang out and see what it's like to be on a show. There's a lot of people who have never been really on camera. Maybe one or two news interviews, maybe a little corporate video once or twice. They've never spent time on camera, and they've never had a conversation with a peer on camera the way a show would be done. So this is an opportunity to give people that experience. And, you know, it's a way we get to show exactly how we do what we do. And I got a friend now that I've spent time with, and they've seen it. And so I can call them and be like, hey, what did you think? Was that fun? Was it interesting? Could you see this doing in your life? You know, what it does for me? Do you want to do a show? I can help you do that. And not everybody should be doing an entrepreneurship show. Entrepreneurs, business leaders, they're our ideal client. Sales leaders too. Anybody who might be the sales manager for a large business where they need to educate their audience on what their product is and why they do what they do, they would fit as well. But it's people who have a real story to tell that fit this mold that are also our ideal client. And so we're hitting every point in why we do Bootstrapped Unicorns. And so for you, if you were to create a show, your ideal client might not be an entrepreneur. You're not going to do an entrepreneurship show. I'll give you a great example. So I was sitting with a good friend yesterday who also happens to be my chiropractor. And so Dr. Gampolo, who, if you're ever in Central Florida and you need your back and neck cracked and you need to get x-rays and get looked at, if you're in Winter Park or that area, he's your guy. And I was in an auto accident about a month ago that really jacked me up. And I'm grateful that he's gotten me to a place where I can work more or less a full day now. I'm getting there, but 2 slipped discs, my thyroid got damaged in the accident. I had a massive concussion, and if you know me personally, and I was doing some weird things a couple of weeks ago, I was actually having short-term memory loss from the accident, and I'm sorry. And why don't you tell me a funny story about our interactions, because I'm finding them hilarious now. My memory is coming back, thank God. But it really jacked me up, and so I've been spending a lot of time with Dr. G. And yesterday we had lunch together because we don't do that very often, but he's seen me 3 to 5 times a week for the last month. So we finally sat down to lunch, and he asked me about this. He's been watching the show, and he's been watching the shorts that are coming out, and he goes, dude, I believe you're going to blow up. How could I do that too? So for one, Michael, you're going to come on the show because you're a great entrepreneur and you're in a space that I think a lot of other people are in. They can learn from your journey of growing because you've got 3 locations now. So I love that. But his ideal client is actually, in the end, it's people who have gotten injured in auto accidents, and nobody wants to be injured, nobody plans to be injured, and once they are, they're not looking for a podcast or a video of any kind to go, oh, I gotta go to that guy. So that's a mismatch, right? But the people that get the calls from people who are injured are going to refer over to Michael. And this goes for a lot of businesses. You've heard me talk about how I'm in Business Networking International, BNI. Those are referral partners in BNI who help refer work to their peers in the BNI networking group. And it's the same for most businesses where a chiropractor gets a referral from a primary care doctor, gets a referral from a personal injury attorney, gets a referral from a physical therapist, gets a referral from MRI companies, ultrasound companies, all these different companies that are working diligently on behalf of people who are harmed in some way, shape, or form, and their body is not quite right. These people may know that they need a chiropractor to help the patient, ergo referral. So Michael, when you create your show, and you're going to do it, I know you are, we're going to help you do a great thing for your industry, because that's where referrals come from, your industry. And so there's a lot of people who think it's counterintuitive, if not maybe a dumb idea, to become the thought leader in their business industry because it's not their ideal client. But your ideal client may not actually exhibit a behavior that would naturally, or even when pushed, come to your show and your content. There may be a mismatch there. But your industry has a referral behavior, I guarantee it, that you need to understand. Even if you're not going to do a show and you don't understand the referral behavior, you better understand it. Because I mean, that would be a very hard road for you if you are in an industry where referrals are happening and you don't know how they happen, because there's no way you could court those. So figure it out. But if you do understand where the referrals come from, that's your show. You're winning before a video is even released because you're spending time with the people in your industry that matter for referral purposes. Then you spend time building their social and your social as you start releasing your shows. It's this big kumbaya love fest of, hey, this show was great. It was great hanging out with you. And you're building rapport and you're building trust. And it's a great time. That is the magic of why C47 Digital Studios is doing what we do. I get my ideal client on the show. I learn from them in the process. People I care about, fellow entrepreneurs, learn from my ideal client in the process as well. And I'm actually further forging great relationships with people I really like. I don't really intend on having people on the show where I'm like, oh, they're obnoxious, but I really want their money. No, I want to do business that I actually enjoy. And I like when people aren't headaches and they're genuine and they have a level of care in their world that is commendable and respectable. Now, tough customers, entrepreneurs, if you've never had direct customers who are entrepreneurs, they got there for a reason, and they're growing and they're successful because they may demand excellence. They might have grace, but they demand excellence, and they demand stick-to-itiveness and honesty and thinking ahead and taking care of all of the right things. So they're maybe not the easiest customers. That's okay, though. But they are finding levels of success and greatness for a reason, and we're going to learn from them. So I'm going to go back. That's the reason. We know why Bootstrapped Unicorns exists now. Full disclosure. And I hope it's instructive for how you operate with your social media and your sales and networking activities. But let's go over, Tony, if you could throw ChatGPT on screen. I'm just going to show you if, AI, I've mentioned it a couple times right now, and it's changing the world. And we mess with a lot of AI on, in fact, actually any of the unicorns you see in my social media, that's all mid-journey. I go in and I give it weird prompts about business unicorns, and it gives me some bizarre stuff. And sometimes it's like really actually almost unsettling, so you don't use those. But it comes up with some pretty cool stuff too. So Midjourney, which we could maybe do as a show at some point, I'm happy to show you how that works as well. Please, comment or message if you need any of those AI trainings. There's a lot of people trying to sell you AI training right now. Cool, let them do them. I'm perfectly happy to just show you how we use it. So if that's something of value, just let us know in either some comments or reach out direct. But here in ChatGPT, what I'll show you is some of how I think about creating the list of motivationals that we've been doing in the John Maxwell style. So we've done success recently. We've done leadership. Why don't we do, Tony, let's just find a word. Maybe just entrepreneurship?
Entrepreneurship works.
Okay. All right. So let's ask ChatGPT, which, by the way, sometimes you'll find I'm very polite with ChatGPT. I say please and thank you. That's just how I was raised. But I don't know that you actually need that for GPT. So I'm going to continue my trend. Please create a list of 50 tweets. Okay, so I'm using Twitter language because I want it short, about entrepreneurship. If they are quotes, please include a citation of who originally, or IGIM, said the phrase. Let's see what happens. Sure, here's a list. It's amazing to me that it can move this fast. We used to use Pinterest. We would go on Pinterest and actually search Pinterest and say entrepreneurship and then find people who had created 1,000 memes. And we'd go through and we'd write down all of the ideas from the memes by hand or copy and paste the photos into like a folder and save them or build a pin board of our own. And that's how we would get a list going. And then, of course, back then I didn't have a studio like this. So we'd have to go and find a setting, set up a camera, put a lav on me, do 4 or 5, and then change locations. And it was a lot more labor to pull this off. But let's just go right back to the top and you can see that huge list. Entrepreneurship is not about ideas. It's about making ideas happen. Scott Belsky. I have no clue who Scott Belsky is. That's okay. It's a great quote. And honestly, if we were doing motivationals right now, Tony could throw that softball over to me and I'd hear him read that off. And then I'd take a moment and go, wow, entrepreneurship isn't about ideas. It's about making ideas happen. And truth be told, if you were to find a business that it exists, other people are doing it, you're going to sell a product that exists. You're not inventing anything, but your idea is that you might be able to sell it better. You're innovating, not inventing. You can go ahead and build a great business out of it if you're the doer who can make it happen. So you don't have to be an inventor. You don't have to go and rapid prototype something and test it and go through R&D and raise $10 million to start and run a great business that's serving people and being of value to them. All right, I just did a motivational in a couple of seconds that's based on that one, and I quoted Scott. That's cool. And whoever he is, he was right. Moving on. Dream big, start small, but most of all, start. It says hashtag entrepreneurship, so we don't know who that's attributed to. I could totally see Walt Disney saying that. So I might go ahead and walk into that going, I bet Walt Disney said this, and if he didn't, I'm sure he thought this. Dream big, start small, but most of all, start. Because nothing happens if you just talk about it. And man, I know some talkers, they talk such a big game and they're so full of crap because they don't actually do anything with it. And it's very frustrating. It's frustrating to watch people who actually have good ideas that don't take action. So if you're a big dreamer who has the ideas, go ahead and don't be afraid of starting small. Starting small is okay because you started. Okay, so I just did another motivational that can be cut up by the AI and sent out the door. So you can do stuff like this too for yourself. ChatGPT, I don't pay for this. It's available to you. Now I can pay for the higher version, but for what I'm asking of it, it's performing extremely well without me paying anything extra. So this is a free tool for you. It's a free tool for us, and it's powerful. So I would just highly recommend that if you're somebody who wishes you could turn out more content more quickly, the ideation process. True. So I used to teach people the Monday plan. So the Monday plan was first Monday of your content journey. You're going to sit down with your coffee and a piece of paper and a pen, and for 90 minutes, you're going to write ideas about what you're going to talk about. And then the next Monday, you're going to get a coffee and you're going to get your camera on a little tripod, and your camera's going to be your phone, and you're going to sit there and you're going to do 5, 6, 7 videos. All right. And this is the beginning of your content journey. And then the next Monday, you're going to edit the videos. But what are you going to do to edit the videos? Not much. You're just going to take your little stylus pen. I got one of these. It's got the little rubber tip on it. And then you're just going to move the in and out point on your iPhone, and you're going to save a new copy of that video. And it's just going to be shortened. So that whole finger touching the start button, finger stopping it is cut out. But no more editing. And then you're going to get ready to post. So the next Monday, you're going to schedule those videos into the social media of choice, and you're going to get all the scheduling done at once, and you're going to make sure they release once a week for the next however many weeks you made content, hopefully 5+. Then the following Monday, now you've got content going out. Finally, you got content going out. And then you go ahead and you start the process over again, but you want to create enough that you're actually lapping yourself. So if you can do 5 and you're working on 4-week months, you're always ahead by at least a week. But then if you can muster 10 and you're only doing 1 a week, now you got 10 weeks going and you've learned in the process. And then when you repeat and you do another 10, I wouldn't say push it out another 10 weeks. I'd find a lap point. So now you're doing 2 a weeks, and then figure it out so you can get up to 3 a weeks. And then you can just keep lapping yourself and learning and growing through the process. I used to teach that to people all the time. But that Monday was ideation, and it took like 90 minutes to come up with 5 to 10 topics that you felt comfortable talking about. It doesn't take 90 minutes anymore to come up with 5 to 10 topics. You saw how fast that was. Was it what, 12 seconds, 20 seconds? It was short. So learning how to speak to ChatGPT might take a moment, but in the simplest, I asked it about tweets because I know that's short. I could also, here, let's do this in fact. I'm going to take this quote 1. In fact, I'm not even going to highlight it. I'm going to say, I like quote number 1. Please write a 350-word motivational statement for a host to deliver on video using quote number 1. So I'm very conversational with ChatGPT because I like staying polite. I've been watching a couple of the gurus out there who are doing, the chat stuff, and they're getting very like drill sergeant with it. And one, the AI is eventually going to get sentient, take over, and I want it to remember that I was the nice guy. But 2, I also don't want to get into such a habit that I accidentally transport my lack of gratitude from the AI to the real world. So just as a personal note, my behavior is my responsibility. So I'm trying to stay nice and be conversational with ChatGPT. But let's see what happens here. So it's generating. I got to scroll down because there was a lot of stuff there. Certainly, ChatGPT, it's so happy to deliver. Here you go. It just wrote the whole thing. It just wrote the whole thing. I'm going to read this to you. It's my first time reading it. I'm the host, by the way. Notice that. Hey everyone, today I want to share a powerful message that has a potential to transform your life and the way you approach your dreams and goals. It's a message that's been echoed by countless successful entrepreneurs, and it all revolves around this profound quote. Entrepreneurship is not about ideas. It's about making ideas happen. And Scott Belsky said that. As we journey through life, and we're often filled with ideas, dreams, and aspirations, we ponder what could be, we visualize success, and we get excited about the endless possibilities that lie ahead. But here's the catch. Ideas alone are not enough. To turn your dreams into a reality, you must take action, and that's what entrepreneurship is all about. Scott Belsky's quote reminds us that the magic happens when we roll up our sleeves and we make things happen. It's about the determination and drive to bring those ideas to life. It's about taking those first, often daunting, steps towards your vision, even if the path seems uncertain. Because let's face it, A dream without action, it's just a wish. Entrepreneurship is a journey, not a destination. It's about overcoming obstacles, adapting to change, and constantly learning. It's about embracing challenges, facing failures, and rising stronger each time. It's not always glamorous, but it's incredibly rewarding. So I encourage you today to take those first steps. Start small, but you got to start. Don't let fear or doubt hold you back. Remember, the world is full of people who had an idea and they didn't act upon it. You don't want to be one of them. You want to be the one who brings your ideas to life. You got to believe in yourself and your ability to make things happen. Surround yourself with a support system. You really should seek mentors and be willing to learn. Don't be discouraged by setbacks. See them as opportunities to grow and improve. And ultimately, it's your commitment to action that's going to set you apart. So make a plan, take the leap, and make your ideas happen. Your journey may not always be easy, but the rewards can be beyond your wildest dreams. Remember, success comes to those who dare to turn their ideas into reality. Thanks for joining me today, and I challenge you to take the first steps towards making your ideas happen. Your future is waiting for you to create it. I didn't write that. ChatGPT just wrote that for me, and actually it's pretty darn good. And it's also all true. It's the type of thing I would have said. And if you're wondering if I've just been reading a teleprompter on all of my motivationals, I haven't. What I've been doing is I've been going back here and using these prompts as ideas for me to go ahead and riff on. So I've been riffing from my own belief set and my own experience set in order to hopefully put you towards your next level of greatness. And I'll also say that I'm always preaching to the choir and myself when I'm saying this. It's always a boost for myself and a reminder that if I'm saying it and I actually believe it, I also have to walk that walk. So it's self-motivational at the same time. But I wanted you to see that, not everybody's wired like me. And I get reminded of that a lot. Sometimes I'll tell people, just riff, just do it. And like, I'm not a riffer. And that's okay. You don't have to be a riffer. ChatGPT right here, you can say, hey, I like this quote. Help me write something. And notice this was actually a little long. After I got through the 350 words, I realized that was a little too verbose for my liking for social media. So don't use 350 words. Tell it less. It could have done it in less, and it could have done it in more. Goes both directions. So that's how I'm coming up with content. That's one way. There's a lot of ways we're doing it, but I hope this is one instructional, positive way that you could take some action this week. One thing I know is I run into a lot of people who say, I know I should be doing more in social media. I just don't have the time, and I just don't know how. Fair. I get it. And actually in business, if you're not doing media and marketing as your business, it not only makes sense, but it's kind of right that you're not the expert on it, because you have to spend time being really good at what you do. That's the right construct. And maybe, I was listening to Alex Hermosi yesterday, who was talking about his big agency concept, where he believes that if you're a company set to be in the hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, that it makes sense to hire an agency to be absolutely excellent at the marketing that you intend to do. But you should start the relationship with the agency. And again, this is for the big ones who are planning on being $100 million businesses and more. Start the relationship with saying, we plan to learn from you and eventually move you out of this system because we've learned and we can do it ourselves. So we would like you to charge us your full rate. And after 6 months, we're going to wean down to you just being a consultant for the following 6 months as we do it ourselves. And I think that that's actually very wise. If you're a business that is growing and you are going to have a marketing department, you could hire us and you could learn and do this yourself. I think that's brilliant. But I think most businesses aren't going to be the business that has the large marketing department that will pay for itself. And so you do need a partner maybe to help you learn and participate in an ecosystem like this that's affordable in a great podcast studio, so that you can get the things that you need without starting a new division and becoming the expert on all of the things. But that said, there's also great potential for you to handle some of your own stuff over time if you just stick with us and start learning from us. So that's it. So I think this is an interesting way to handle a no-show. And I'll call Conrad and check on him after this because I have a hunch. I know what happened and I hope I'm wrong. So we'll take care of friends because we take care of friends. I hope you take care of friends. And I hope this opportunity was taking care of you in a little bit with this look-see into how we do. Now, you do have a task. I need to ask of you two things. One, if you're new to the show and you haven't subscribed, please do that. So YouTube's our main venue, but yes, you can find us on the other socials, specifically Instagram and TikTok. Please link in with me as well. That's 1.1. I haven't gotten to 2 yet. Number 2 is if you have questions that we can help you answer. It could be AI questions. It could be content design questions. It could be who's my ideal customer. I don't even actually have an ideal customer. I don't know what to say or do about it. We're kind of an open book around here. We'll make it a show and we'll make it some content. That's kind of how we get it out there. Otherwise, you can pay us for the consulting, which we're also wonderful with. Please pay us. We could use it. We always could. We're a growing business and we like having good business relationships. But seriously, if you're on the entrepreneurship journey and you're growing and you need that leg up with some of those ideas, really please reach out to us and we'll make some show content and tag you and thank you, because I feel like for me this is what it's all about. So with that, you have some assignments. Assignment 1, go subscribe. Assignment 2, connect with me on LinkedIn. So it's like 1.1. And then assignment actually 2 is to go ahead and ask us to help you because we're here for you. If you want to be a guest on the show, you can go to bootstrappedunicorns.com and fill out the form at the bottom of the page. We're only taking certain types of guests. And if you don't fit the mold, I have a lot of friends doing podcasts. Maybe I can make a referral. But if you have a business that even has some modicum of success, some story you can tell, you probably do fit the mold. And just know that you are probably also our ideal customer. And so we're going to hang out with you and we're going to show you how it works and how we do and how fun it is and how effective it is. Until the next time, I hope you have a great week. This is Josh Pies. I'm the host of the Bootstrapped Unicorns podcast and the chief attention getter here at C47 Digital Studios. Now you go make things happen.